All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So if you would finish your sentence and begin to bring your conversation to a close. Good morning. It's really good to see you all. I do want to bring your attention real quick to, we're trying to be a little bit more, on the up and up with things this year. So we do have a hashtag. It is Literacy Coaches Network. And you can use this hashtag, I forgot one. You can use this hashtag with Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, any of those. As long as your post is public, then all of the other members of our network and obviously others will be able to see it. And we thought this might be really way to stay connected with each other in between times that we meet. So if you have an idea that you've put into practice and you want to just quick take a picture of it and post it, then we'll be able to aggregate. We have a website that we'll be using that will aggregate all of the posts across social media platforms as long as it's public and has this hashtag. So it will be kind of fun to be able to see what you're doing now, not only now, today, but in the interim, in between days. Did you have a question?
Is there a private Literacy Coaches Network Facebook group?
There's not.
There's not. Okay.
Yet.
Okay.
It's been talked about, just not created. So is that something you might find useful?
Yeah, I think it would be a great way to bounce ideas off each other.
Okay. We'll get on it soon-ish. Thank you for asking. Yes. Okay, so welcome back. We're glad you're here. The session today is diving into how to coach teachers to teach almost anything. This is written by Jill Jackson, and what you need to know about this session is that it's pretty ground level. So if you're just getting started into coaching, or you know that you'll be moving into a coaching role, or you're wondering about how to structure your time, or note-taking forms, or what you might say to a particular teacher, then this will be a really good session to be in. If you've been coaching a long time and you feel like you really have your feet underneath you, and you feel like you have a good system, you have a good flow, this will feel kind of basic. And you're welcome to stay. If you feel like this may not be the best fit for you, you can go now, or you can just choose something for the next time you come. We won't be offended. We certainly love having you here, but we want the time that you spend to be the best time for you. Okay, questions you might have about that? No? Feeling good? Ready to go? Okay, let's move on. So the reason we're here is to gain tools and skills to improve our teaching practice. This will be our focus throughout all 4 sessions. It's really those basic tools and those basic skills that will help us continue on our coaching journeys. One of the most important things that Sarah talked about this morning with us is that part of the reason we're here is to collaborate with each other. And we can't do that unless we know each other a little bit. And so we are going to do an activity that allows you to really get your mental focus here, as well as get to know some other people in the room. So on your tables, you have some postcards. If your table did not get postcards, please buddy up with another table so that you have some cards to look at. You're going to reflect on your current role, whether that's coach, instructional specialist, teacher, teacher leader, whatever it is that your current role is. Take a minute to reflect on that. Choose a postcard that best represents your current work. So we're starting to think in some analogies. And then in a few minutes, begin to think about how you might share that with the group. So take 2 minutes to look through the postcards and think about a relationship to your current work. All right, and if you would, grab your postcard in your hand. And you're going to stand up. You can wait for the full directions if you prefer. If you'd like to stand up now, go ahead. But you're going to take your postcard, stand up, and join with a group of about 5 or 6. So find a table or 2 close to you. And you're going to have just a short standing conversation where you will share your postcard and the relationship that it has to your work, and then in turn listen to the other people in your group. Okay? So we have a couple minutes to do that. Go ahead and stand up, grab your postcard, find 5 or 6 people close to you, and have your standing conversation. Join.
Okay. So in circling around the room, I heard people share thoughts like, we're sitting at a table for conversation and collaboration. We're ironing out the details like the fine-tuned points of Mount Rushmore. We are yielding to decisions that are not in our control, things like that. So thanks for sharing your thinking with others. Hopefully you got something from somebody else that you can take back and that's going to resonate with you as you reflect on the time today. You can return to your seats, and if you'll just put the postcards in the middle, please. Our learning intentions for this session are both social and content related. So to intentionally engage with colleagues and in personal reflection. We'll know we're successful when we can listen with attention and speak with intention. To identify existing and desired state for your coaching practice. And your success criteria would be that you can communicate the components or qualities of coaching. So our agenda today is we're going to do a Say Something protocol with an article. If you did not get one when you came in the door, I'll gladly pass out some more as we get to that. We're going to look at our current state of coaching, where we are, and I heard some of you start telling those stories as you were using your postcards. We're going to think about a desired state. That kind of goes along with some of the problem of practice we were talking about. Where are you hoping to get in your coaching? What is something that you're striving towards or that would smooth out some things for you? We're going to do an idea walk, similar to like a science fair walk. And then we're going to do some group processing, and we'll talk about moving from that current state to that desired state by looking at a problem-resolving map and thinking about resources needed to get there. And then we'll have some reflection time at the end. So we're going to take a few minutes to make sure everybody can get into Google Classroom. If you have a device, you will see your class code for this session is on the inside of your blue packet. So I think it's on the first page, kind of right here, under the dark heading. It says, diving into Jill Jackson's How to Coach Teachers. And way off to the left column there is a code that starts with a lowercase q1ic7a. Okay? You'll want to sign into Classroom on your device. I don't know. So it's classroom.google.com. And then if you put in that code, and I want to say I'll be able to show you how to do that, but really it's already going to show me that I'm in a session. So So if you've gotten there, if you're successful, it should look like this at the top. You'll see the PowerPoint that we're using right now already linked in there, so you can follow along that way. If you're not sure about accessing the Wi-Fi on your computer, there are directions around the room. Feel free to take one of the smaller copies and bring it back to your table if you need to. You'll have to ask for a code from our tech department. Once you get that code, Wi-Fi will be active here for a year. But you do need your phone for them to text the code back to you. Any questions or support that you might need in that area? So the Google Classroom, if you were here last year, you already know that's where we'll post our PowerPoint, where we'll post articles or resources for you, where we'll remind you about the upcoming session and the date. If you have questions, you can contact us through Google Classroom. We'll also share our emails with you. So you can contact us that way. Feel free to do that. We're going to kind of see if we can article part, and then the people that need support with the tech department as they come in, we'll direct them your way.
During our session this morning, we are going to be taking you through some activities to kind of stop and think about what your coaching role looks like now and where you want it to go. And one thing that we realized from talking to coaches throughout districts is that we have a lot of different roles, and our districts utilize us in a lot of different ways. And it's helpful for us to kind of get an idea of what other people are doing and hear about the different ideas and roles that other coaches are playing. So before we jump into these activities, we kind of want to start with some anchoring information or some anchoring ideas to kind of help us get rolling. And so that's what we're going to be doing with this article. All of you have a copy of the article, The Many Roles of an Instructional Coach. And what we're going to do today is say something protocol with this, so there's no need to get up or move around, as long as you have a partner that's sitting by you. And basically what you're going to do as you read through this article is you and your partner are going to come up with certain stopping points. And when you hit those stopping points, you're basically just going to turn to each other and say something that resonates with you, something that you say, oh yeah, that is exactly the type of role that I play as a coach in my district. Or, you know what, I've never been utilized in that way. That's kind of an interesting idea. It's just a time for you to start having really brief thoughts or starting conversations about what coaching can look like in your district. So I'm going to ask everybody to pull out their article and to make sure that you are sitting either across or next to somebody, so then that way you have an opportunity to choose what some of your stopping points are. And if you can right now, talk with that person and kind of put stars or mark points as to where you're going to stop in your reading so then you are able to turn and talk. You are going to continue stopping, having the conversation, reading until you get through the whole article today. Okay? Are there any questions? Okay, then you can go ahead and start. Coaching is such an awesome role, but it is also such a funky role, and sometimes it is really hard to explain to people what in the world we do. And so I love being able to walk around and to hear the conversations that you are having, to hear that there's a lot of people that are in the same spot trying to figure things out. And there are a lot of people who are doing things and they wish they were kind of doing other things. And that is just kind of part of being a coach. But what I would love right now is I would love to have about 3 people, 3 groups that kind of share out what was some of your thinking that you had throughout the article, or what was maybe an aha or something that both you and your partner kind of agreed on as you were reading through the article.
We talked about that we really liked the list that was provided, just because it affirms or refocuses various things for people that are maybe in multiple buildings, that maybe they're doing multiple points from the list, but in different buildings because of where that building's at and what that building needs. So that just confirms, yes, I'm doing the right thing. It just looks different in these buildings. This is why it's still good work.
It's nice to know that we're on the right track because we never really feel like we're on a track most of the time.
And I think the list can refocus if you feel like you're kind of meandering along, that can create some focus for you.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Lucy.
My partner and I felt very verified on the first page where it says in the second column, a little bit at the end of the first, this position is defined differently from location to location. That's its biggest challenge and greatest asset. Attempts to standardize the position can undermine its effectiveness. Our district's been working through all of the coaching and trying to almost redefine ourselves and almost craving standardization in it, but this is affirming to know that that's actually can be negative. So that's exciting.
It's messy.
Messy.
Thanks,
Can I
Brian.
piggyback off that a little
Yeah.
bit? Because we had talked about not just now, but earlier how we spent a significant amount of time last year with our administrators and our principals on what our responsibilities were supposed to be for this year, and it's still not it. In the year, it kind of blows up and it goes in different directions.
Absolutely. I mean, the best laid plans. I take a look at every year, even as our team, we have these beautiful plans laid out, and by the time you get to the end of the year, you haven't done anything on your plan. You've done everything but what you said what you're going to do.
Yeah, I like how it said in a couple different places about customized, coaching, right? So it kind of piggybacks off both of those in terms of you want your schedule, you want your thoughts with teachers all to be fluid and flexible because it's going to be different with who you are working with. And I like how they said in a couple different places, customized solutions, along the way. So you don't really want to be put into this box of this is what you're going to do because there's so many dimensions to it.
Absolutely. And sometimes communicating that with everybody is the hardest part of it.
Right.
Because working with several buildings within your district, you might have a lot of principals who have a different idea of what you need to be doing in their building, so that communication piece can be a struggle.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're bringing up this piece because that is one of the reasons why we're bringing the Jill Jackson book to this group. This isn't something that you're going to see that we're going to go front to end, cover to cover, and we're going to go through all the materials in there. Basically, what we have found with this book is there are a lot of great tools in it. There are a lot of things that you can use for different situations that you're in. And so although today our main goal is to kind of build the culture of the group and to think about our coaching and where we want to go, that book is going to be used to support some of those pieces that you guys have just been talking about. So now we're going to start kind of taking you through the process. And Christi is going to have you kind of start to think about those conversations you've had about your coaching so you can start to create a current state.
Okay, and before we do that, I have a little sheet that just says I'm here today, your name and your district. We know you signed in at the registration table, but we also want to know who had registered for this session that didn't come so that we know who we need to follow up with or touch base with in terms of are they planning on coming? Did they choose a different session? They're here today, but they chose a different session. So just kind of re-register for a quick second. Put your name on here, your district, just pass it around as we go through the next activity. Okay? I'll start over here. Thanks. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is while you were reading your article, I came around and passed out just a blank white sheet of paper. This is where you get to be visually creative. Some of you are cringing, some of you are excited. Okay? Either way is fine. You saw my little stick person up here on our agenda. If this is the way you draw, that's totally fine. If you are an artist, that's great too. What we're asking you to do is think about what your coaching role is currently like. Think about your responsibilities. Think about the activities that you do. And also think about what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like. On one side of that blank piece of paper, work on creating a visual representation of what your coaching role currently is, what it looks like, what it sounds like, what it feels like. Okay, we'll give you about 3 minutes to think that through and begin your sketching. So if you would, one thing I want to draw your attention to is that a lot of the protocols and activities that we use are things that you can take back and use with your teachers in your district or even with students. The protocols that we choose are very intentional, and we always try to make them available to you. So the protocol that we're using for this portion of our time together is called Existing State, Desired State. And there's a map that's linked at the bottom of this slide that you have access to, where you'll be able to click on it and get the map and read through how it can be used, and think about how you might want to use that with teachers or students in your district. Okay? So we're going to take your paper and flip it over.
If your marker went through and you feel like you need another one, feel free to let me know and I'll bring more.
So on the other side of the paper, you're going to think about your desired state. Again, visual representation of what you ideally want your coaching role to be. In a perfect world, my role would look like what? What would you be doing? What would it feel like? What would it look like? What would it sound like? So this is where you get to dream a little bit. We'll give you about 2 minutes to go ahead and work on that ideal state. What would it be like in a perfect world? What would your coaching role look like, sound like, feel like, and what activities would you be doing? Okay, so you can go ahead and work on that.
So this is where we're going to do an idea walk. If you would like people to know your name and contact information, like an email, feel free to take your paper and write that in the top right-hand corner. If you don't, that's fine as well. What we're hoping is that you'll still be willing to share your desired state. So the side with your desired state is going to be up on the table like this. Okay? We're going to use 3 front tables here and 3 back tables back there that are open. And this is going to be like a gallery walk through a science fair. Perhaps you don't have to stay with your piece, but we'd like you to bring either a sticky note or an index card, and or your note-taking sheet from your packet is fine as well. Maybe even your camera if people feel comfortable sharing that way, to gather some ideas from what other people have put in their desired state. Because we're going to write down that something that maybe sparks our interest, something that you might want to add to or revise your own desired state, and thinking that you might want to bring back to the group. For example, you might say, well, I saw this on a desired state, and I really hadn't considered that before, and now I'm thinking about how that might apply to me. So we're going to kind of take your paper. If you want to write your contact information there, grab a sticky note or whatever you're going to write with, bring it to one of the 3 front tables or the 3 back tables, and then kind of gallery walk around the room and take a chance to look at all of those things. What questions might you have? Okay, when you are ready, you may stand with your desired state up on one of the 3 front tables or 3 back tables. As you finish your idea walk, if you could make your way back to your tables, please. So we are going to do some group processing time with what you might have noticed, those questions that we just looked at, something that sparks your interest that you saw on the idea walk, something that you might want to add to or revise of your own desired state, and thinking you want to share, maybe that challenged you or something like that. We're going to do that through some group processing. So earlier you got into groups of about 5 or 6. If you can kind of form that same size group again, when we start this activity, you're going to share something from your own desired state. If you would like to grab that paper to do that, you're more than welcome to do that. Then something that you noticed as a trend, perhaps, during the idea walk. As you're doing that, we will prep for the next part of talking about what resources might you need to get from the existing state to the desired state. So, if you need to grab your desired state, you may do that. Form the group of 5 or 6, similar to what you were in earlier, and then share something. Okay, you may go.
We're going to have you stay in your groups, but just pause for a minute, because what we're going to do is we're going to kind of now put everything together. We've talked a little bit about what our role looks like. We've had a chance to hear what other people's roles are like and talk about where we want to go. And now we want to kind of bring that together and start talking about the resources we need in order to make our desired state come alive. And this is a really important piece, not only for you to help bring back to your districts, but this is an important piece for us in planning this session. We want to know what are the things that you need in place to help get you where you want to be. We want to know the knowledge you need. We want to know the support you need. We want to know the tools that you need. And so what we're going to do is we are going to be giving you a piece of chart paper, And it does not have to be beautiful. As you can see, I cannot make a pointed arrow for the life of me because I can't get my angles right. And I can't spell existing correct either. I always want to put an H in there. So anyhow, you're going to just put on your chart paper existing state and desired state. And then in the middle, you are going to list out your resources. And your guiding question is going to be, what will it take to bring the existing state and desired state closer together? And so there are some things you can think through. What are some strategies that we can use to get us to our desired state? What are activities we need to have in place? What is some of the knowledge that I need? How about the tools or the skills that I need? What are some of the attitudes of not only just myself, but my building or my principals that need to be put in place in order for me to get where I want to go? And so we want you to take time to brainstorm with this group and to get these resources down, as many as you can think of. So then that way, like I said, we can use this to help guide and give you some direction so we can help you make that desired state come as much of a reality as we possibly can. And like Sarah said, can I dream of more people? You can dream of more people and you can put it on your resource. I just am not sure I can help you with that piece of it. So we're going to come around with some chart paper, and if you can just pick somebody to kind of be the artist and to draw out your chart, and you can start listing down some of those resources.
As Katie mentioned, we will be using these as a way to reflect on what happened in all of your smaller group conversations and what can we do to help support you in moving closer to your desired state by looking at the resources that you have indicated there. So that as we plan for future sessions, we're taking into mind your current state and your desired state to go forward. As we wrap up, the next part of our day, in about 10 minutes, will be what we're calling a hot or not in literacy topic study. And so for each session throughout the year, we are choosing some different articles to dig into. All of the articles will be available through the Google Classroom, posted as digital links. We'll also put any additional copies we have of hard copies out on the registration table after that session's over. So if you'd like to grab them to read later or share with a colleague, you may do that. The articles are kind of on your blue sheet there. If you see the 10:30 to 11:15 time, I'm going to say the equity one is called Questioning the Norms. Let me see if I can grab that real quick so you can hear the whole title of it. It's called Questioning the Norms, Critical Conversations in Equity with Students and Teachers. So that will live right here in the Grand Room if you're interested in that. There's an article about classroom management called Tear Down Your Behavior Chart. And that one will live in the Cold Water Room if you're interested in reading and learning more about that, dialoguing about that today. There's an article about student levels, which is called What If Just Right is Just Wrong? The Unintended Consequences of Leveling Readers. That will be in the Cedar Room. And then the last article is about looking at digital or looking at news and being able to filter that out. Christi, will you bring up that exact title for me, please? So looking at a critical eye with news, and that's dealing with students and looking at media and things like that and how to decide what might be beneficial to them and what might not. So that one will be in the Thornapple Room, which is just down the hall this way, to your right when you walk out.
The fake news one is called Assessing News Literacy in the 21st Century.
Thank you.
Did you say, are these available, like if you go to a session, are they available for you to get online?
Yeah,
If you
so
want to read them at another, like if there's more than one that you wanted to read?
yes, so they are all posted in the elementary collaborative classroom that we have for the opening and closing session. So that code is in here. It's for some reason it was just posted as a closing session, so you can join that. They're all posted digitally there. The additional copies when we're done will be out on the table as well. We've made 85 copies of each article, and we don't expect 85 people to go to each session, so there should be plenty extra for you to grab. The one thing you'll want to know as you go to that hot or not in literacy is in your blue packet there is a protocol called Conversation Cafe Protocol. That's what we will be using to dialogue around these articles today. So the first thing you'll do when you go into a room is kind of get with a group of people. And you're going to choose a facilitator. You'll go through and choose a timekeeper, and then you'll do some reading. We'll post a question for you to dialogue around, and you'll follow the round one protocol where each person gets a chance to speak about their thinking, and then you have some spirited dialogue where there's crosstalk after that and a closing at the end. So that session's about 45 minutes in length. To close out our session, we have one of those boxes on your reflection sheet is there for you to jot any relevant notes that you're thinking about as you walk away from the dialogue you had with colleagues today. What might be applicable to your coaching role, to the problem of practice you started to think about earlier today. Capture some of those thoughts there. As you're transitioning to the room you want to go to, please do not grab the articles, but everybody in this room, if you signed your name on the paper, there is a book for you with your name on a sticky note there. So it might be beneficial to leave it on there so that if you set it down somewhere, it doesn't get mixed up with somebody else's, because they all look the same right now. But you're welcome to take that. That's the Jill Jackson coaching book that we will be diving into this year in terms of looking at what are some note-taking strategies, organizational strategies, and things like that as you move through your coaching role. So you're welcome to come and get that. When you're ready, you may transition.